It's always awful when you fall into a trap. And it's even worse when you know the trap exists, you know it's there, and you think you know better. It's disheartening after, and you feel like a fool. But at the time when you're full of enthusiasm and motivation, it seems like a good idea. But it's not. So, what is the trap I fell into? Basically, I was going through a hard time at Mergs. We've been moving warehouse, we've been doing some other things. Cash flow's been poor, to say the least. There's been a few other things, like I'm not Jeff Bezos, like it's fine. I don't claim to be some sort of wizard at this, I'm just trying my best. And so I lost motivation to a point which went below low and towards hatred. For that matter, I've done a graph. Right, so when you run your own business, basically, you've got the high, the low, and the hatred on the graph down the y-axis. This is the motivation and enthusiasm for Mergs. So Mergs starts off like this. You're full of enthusiasm. Things come and go, up and down, motivation dips and wanders, and you're up and down. And about a year ago, I got down to here. Somewhere between low and hatred. And I'd had enough. And then over time, things pick up and the business improves and things go back up. And sometimes you get a spike and you're like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever done, ever. And you're up here and you're living fine. A graph can't go backwards, but ignore that, we're using Paint. So for the last few weeks, I've been like here, and now I'm like here. So yeah, bonkers, I know. So what went wrong? I started a second business. I've been rushed off my feet with my kids and moving warehouse, and to put it very politely, I lost my marbles just a smidge, because this is a very, very tough world to be in. The amount of times I see on social media, which is the bane of my life, I hate it, that business, it's just so easy, you just sell things for more than you bought them. No, business is simple. You sell things for more than you bought them. It's not easy. It's a flipping it's a minefield. It's a minefield of just challenging things. And there's all these different angles of putting all these little tiny fires out and managing the business, like customer support and daily maintenance. And then there's other things, like the future growth and new product lines, and then also trying to improve and evolve the current things that are out there. And I'll be completely honest, when we were doing the warehouse move, there was at least 10 days, 2 weeks that were just so stressful, and I'd had enough, and I wanted to keep making videos, but I don't know, I just dropped into a little micro depression, shall we say. I've struggled with depression and anxiety in the past, still do to an extent, and sometimes it gets you, and I ran out of steam and dropped off the map. And the reason I'm telling you this is to try and save you these future problems. It's such a funny thing that we need reminding more than we need teaching. I know this, you know this, but you'll get to a point in your business career where you're like, I'll just do a bit extra. I'll just squeeze another thing in. Turns out that's really hard to do, and I am a living example of I couldn't do it. It could have been done, but that would have been at the detriment of Mergs, and Mergs is my primary focus. That is the goal. Everything else is secondary to that. So that always needs to come first. And for about 2 weeks, I kind of dropped off, and I was like, nope, something else is going to come first. Mergs will be fine. We'll come back to Mergs. But in reality, all it did was make me a little more stressed by putting more on my plate and causing a bit more turmoil. So the series will be going on pause, building websites. I am still finishing the website for Jordan and his gym locally. But now we're back on the Mergs enthusiasm train. Another reason I'm telling you this is because it happens to the best of us. We see people on the internet that act like they're robots. Do you know, like you get in your car and when you turn it on, it just starts? That's not what humans are like. We're emotional and we're weird. And we're not robots. You can't just turn on a switch for robot work mode. You can't just be on. You're not a machine. You are a human. And do you know what? We were never made to be sat looking at computer screens all day. That we were made to be out in the woods finding food and like doing shit, but instead we create our own little environments. And yeah, sometimes you just need a reset. Sometimes you need a pause. Sometimes you need a break. And I needed a break because I got burnt out. Turns out burnout's real. It catches me all the time. And it's funny now because it's easy to laugh about. Because you do feel silly. You've done a thing. It's like knowing how to drive a manual car and stalling it. We all stall a car now and again. It might be once a year, it might be once a week. I hope it's not once a week, but it's something you can do. You can have driven 1,000,000 miles and sometimes you catch the clutch wrong and you stall it. But it's how you get back into the action that matters. So yes, I don't even want to say made a tits of it because it's not really that deep. It's not that big of a deal. It's just been a few weeks of trying to do something else. It proves to me though that the motivation and the ambition hasn't died. That is so strong. I can't not be this ambitious to the point where this much ambition causes me problems because I overthink a lot of things. And anyway, we're back on the horse. I'm excited to tell you. And yeah, this will happen to you at some point, and you'll look back and be like, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. So yeah, just keep trying your best. But try and stick to those main focuses. Keep your priorities in order and just make sure you know what the goal is. It's easy to have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 things on your plate, but don't. Be really good at one thing instead of being okay at lots of things.